if your proposed mentor is someone you're already working with, the committee might rank that slightly lower than a proposal where you're establishing a new link basically between the lab or the advisor that your major professor, your major advisor, and a new collaborator. So if you're working with someone, if you're proposing to work with someone with whom your advisor has a 20-year track record of close collaboration, the committee might argue that, hey, there are no barriers to this to this collaboration happening. So the burden again is on you to really articulate how having an IDF fellowship and this opportunity is really going to stimulate this new collaboration and bring an element to your dissertation or to your research that wouldn't have been available to you otherwise. Another point is to get excited about your work. It is okay to let the committee know what is cool about what you're trying to do. Why is this a new way of thinking about something? Let us know that. And last, I think my last point circles back to my first point. What might be perfectly compelling, articulate, scientific language or academic language in your own fields might be heavily jargon laden, impenetrable prose to a person coming from far outside your discipline. And so one way to ensure that you're making your proposal legible and exciting to people from all different types of academic backgrounds is to have a non-specialist read it. Send it to your mother, send it to your brother. Ask them if they can understand the messages you're trying to get across. Those were just some. I'm going to stop the share now. Those were just some of the sort of messages that I've gleaned, or the lessons I've gleaned from being on this panel for more years than I can remember. I'm going to turn it back over, I think, to Jennifer now and see what the next step is.
Okay, and I'm going to be the disembodied voice here because I hid myself and it'll take me a minute to find it. So questions, please put your questions in the chat. Any questions that you have for Professor Powers? And oops. And you can just send your questions to everyone.
And if you're shy, I'll be here the whole time. And so you can always come back and put something in the chat and I can respond to you privately, or I can respond to the group.
Jennifer, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Do you think you can explain to people a little bit about the difference between the mentor and the center director, or maybe explain to them the diversity of differences?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are typically a whole set of materials of basically letters of support that accompany your application. One is from your advisor or your professor, your mentor in your own graduate program. The center writes the center, so that's the institution, the institute, the center that you're proposing to affiliate with. The director of the center writes a letter on your behalf. And in addition, the particular mentor, the person who you want to work with in that center, who presumably you've already established some sort of relationship with, they also will write an additional letter of support on your behalf. And I think with these letters, as you read them, they're most compelling or most convincing if you can, if the student and the mentor inside of the center can articulate what are the mutual benefits of this relationship. The letter from the center director, to some extent, really can can touch on that, but it's up to the letter from the center mentor or the person you want to go work with to really say, hey, yes, Betsy contacted me. I hadn't heard about her research, but I'm really excited about it. This is where I see, as a person coming in with a different set of disciplinary sort of perspectives, this is what I see is really the benefit of having this relationship. So that, so you want, what you want is, as an applicant, is to have that letter from the mentor who you want to work with really flesh out as many details as possible and say, yeah, we're so excited that Betsy will come join our group, which is housed within this center. And, we're looking forward to specifically working with her on this aspect of population dynamics or whatever. Does that sort of clear up some of those issues, Juliet?
So we also have a question from chat. Is it possible to have a relationship with the center and submit an IDF partnership with the center who is not one of the five, which is not one of the five presenting this today? And the answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think that what the committee gets excited about is a relationship between the student and the mentor at whatever institute that is. I've read proposals of people who wanted to work in the Weizmann Museum. So there's lots of different places I think you can go to find, to build those interdisciplinary connections into your work. So definitely, absolutely, beyond the 5 centers that are represented here today, IDF, I think actually Tony Apps would be the person to, would be the person to really to say, hey, I'm going to go to the Center for Hardwood Ecology. Is this actually one of the approved or sanctioned centers? But yes, there's a much larger list of centers than just the 5 that are represented here today.
Okay. We have a question from someone who's saying they're in one department, their potential mentor is another, and while their research focuses overlap, the other person's approach is, the mentor's approach is completely and totally different. Do you have best tips for how to communicate that to someone non-humanities, non-social science, these are both within CLA, who might assume the disciplines are the same?
Yeah, so I absolutely do. But one way to do it is to say, although superficially similar, what my affiliation with this mentor would bring is a whole new methodological sort of toolkit that I don't have access to. So you can, the student, I think, should very clearly articulate, why is it that I've sought out this person? Why does, it's this approaches that bring something, this conceptual approaches or methodological approaches that are not represented in my graduate program that really do bring something new to my research. And here I'll ask Juliet, and I have served on this committee, on this panel for several years in the past. Juliet, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I can't echo enough what Jennifer Powers said about making the distinctions between the field that you're in, your graduate program, and the organization you want to be a part of as plainly as possible. And that also goes for the scientists here. I'm a humanist, and I don't really think that there's anything different. Like, I don't understand the difference between like, a biodynamic field and dynamic biology field. I just made that up, but this is how confusing hard science is for me. And so you really need to articulate the difference very clearly to somebody who isn't familiar even with your home discipline. One way to do that is to talk, and I think this is very important, is to talk about the different methods. Is the object of study different? Is the approach to an object different? Are the questions different? And break down what is the distinction that you are going to, that you need to make in order to understand what is the new information or approach you're going to get. If you can also do that, it's going to really enrich your own project. So the IDF is a high bar. It's a complicated fellowship and it's not for everybody. But if you can actually really identify what is so useful, compelling, necessary about this interdisciplinary reach, your project's going to be that much better. So it's worth it. You're going to know your discipline better and you're going to have access to this new research.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple more questions. So many of you who've looked at the website for the grad school for the IDF know that it's designed for people who will be graduating after spring of 2023. So one question is it possible to get an exception to apply if you are graduating in 2022 if the center you're applying through is okay with it?
That's really a question for Tony in the graduate school. The committee in the past, you know, part of why they have moved towards these requirements is really to sort of incentivize people to start thinking about integrating an interdisciplinary focus at earlier stages in their graduate research, their graduate training. And so having those deadlines is one way to do it. I personally can't, I waive, you know, the committee itself doesn't sort of grant those waivers. In the past, the committee has, those are really pretty new requirements. And you know, we've held that pretty strict to those deadlines, but that would be a question for Tony, I would say.
Okay, and we have one more question and then we'll start the other presentations. I understand that we're required to have a letter from the mentor from the host institute, but is it contradictory to the requirement that the collaborator should preferably be new to you?
You know, I don't see that as a contradiction. New is really sort of defined not only from the perspective of the student, but also from the perspective of the lab that you're in. And so, you know, I could have a 20-year collaboration with, say, Juliet, and as faculty members, that would be, if we had a student who wanted to work with both of us, the fact that we have spent 2 decades collaborating would be sort of the disincentive there. As a student, you know, what I see, I guess, when I read all these applications are things like, yes, you know, a letter from the mentor that says, wow, I saw Betsy, you know, she took my seminar a year ago, and you know, she was coming from sociology. I'm part of environmental studies. I was really impressed that she could keep up. When she approached me about whether or not, you know, I would serve as a mentor, I said yes. And so the collaboration with the novelty or the newness of the link between the mentor, the center mentor, and the student, in some ways reflects sort of your academic home, right? If you're in the sciences, we would say if your PI has a long established collaboration with the PI or the mentor in the center, that is something that would sort of take your application down a notch. But if you as a student have sought out this person who adds an interdisciplinary focus to your work, then, you know, and it might have been you took their class, it might have been you found their website or whatever, you know, that is certainly you working together with them for the first time is the novel collaboration. If your advisor and their advisor have a, you know, 20-year history of collaborating, that is not viewed as a new collaboration. Does that make sense? I hope I'm adding some detail to to these rules, which might seem hard to sort of parse. And I think Juliet's going to add something. Yeah.
Something that came up a lot when I was on the committee was, are there any institutional impediments to this collaboration? So, you know, if the person is an affiliate member of your graduate program, it's not that hard to reach out to them. If they're a part of your advisor's lab, that's not that hard to reach out to them. But if you've been able to take one seminar with them, that is a great way to meet somebody, especially in the humanities. And if they're not a member of your graduate program, then maybe that seminar has been a way for you to meet them and get to know how incredibly potent their work could be for your work. So you're not supposed to go on a blind date to find your mentor. But there are people who create these mentoring relationships by really seeking people out and maybe not even having had a seminar with them. And the seminar is sort of the unit of acquaintance in the humanities and social sciences. So I'm just using that instead of lab. But that I think is the question you need to know that a committee is looking at is, are we helping this student leap over institutional barriers to interdisciplinarity? And if the barriers aren't there, then we don't want to give you a ladder. That's maybe a way to think about that.
Yeah, Juliet, that's just spot on. I completely agree.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Professor Powers, and thank you, Professor Cherbulier. And I'm just going to give a quick rundown of the 5 centers and who will be speaking. And then we'll just hand off to the next person. So I'm Jennifer Gunn. I'm going to be talking about the Institute for Advanced Study. Following me will be Juliet Cherbulier talking about following me will be Lindsay Fabian. I can't read my own handwriting, talking about the Minnesota Population Center and Life Course Center. Following Lindsay will be Karen Brown, the director of the Interdisciplinary Center for the Study of Global Change. And following Karen will be Juliet Cherbulier talking about the Consortium for the Study of the Pre-Modern World. And winding us up before we go into breakout rooms will be Kathy Jordan of the Institute on the Environment. And I suggest that you hold your questions for the breakout rooms. I'll be monitoring the chat, so if it's absolutely pressing, we'll see it, but otherwise we'll just try to work quickly through our centers and then hand off. So I am now wearing my hat as the director of the Institute for Advanced Study, which is the university's interdisciplinary center for collaborative and innovative research. And if you are an IDF fellow at the Institute for Advanced Study, you will be part of a community of fellows. We have a residential fellowship program, 6 faculty each semester from a range of disciplines, as well as interdisciplinary doctoral fellows, sometimes visiting scholars, community scholars and artists in residence, etc. And I'm just going to, I'm going to press share screen, and I am going to the IAS webpage where we have a website explicitly for the interdisciplinary doctoral fellowships under the heading up here called Opportunities. And we also provide, when we are in person, we also provide an office, a computer, and professional development funds. And in addition to the weekly work in progress discussion where you will be presenting your work each semester, we also offer writing hunkers, topical workshops, and focused discussions with and without snacks. Again, in person makes a difference. If you are interested in help finding a faculty mentor from the IAS, there's actually a list here on this website. Our mentors are people who have been previous faculty fellows, current fellows, participants in the IAS research and creative collaboratives, board members, and others. And Susanna Smith, our managing director, and I are happy to talk to you and help match you up. If you want, there's also a video with Joe Whitson, an American Studies student who was an IDF fellow a couple of years ago, and that's also on our website. So here's what you need to know about the IAS. The deadline to submit to the graduate school is November 13th. But before November 13th, you need to make an application to the IAS with substantially all the parts of the application that you will have to go to the grad school. And that's due to the IAS by Monday, October 19th. We have a selection committee made up of our board members, and then we will select if necessary and make and write a nominating letter and send your packet back to the DGS in your department so that they can get it in to the graduate school by Friday, November 13th. I always get asked this, so I'll just say typically
Jennifer, there's a lot of static on your mic.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me try to, is this any better?
Yes, and I think it was maybe you just had something rattling, like a notebook or something in front of the microphone.
It might have been my notebook. At any rate, we typically get 15 to 20 applications, and we typically nominate 6 to 8 students. This year we have 5 interdisciplinary doctoral fellows from CFANS and CLA, different departments. So if you want to talk to us more, tell Abby in the chat that you want to go into the IAS break room. And Susanna and Smith and I are available for further conversation as well. So now on to Lindsay Fabian.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. I am Lindsay Fabian. I am the Training and Grants Manager at the Institute for Social Research and Data Innovation. And we house both the Minnesota Population Center and the Life Course Center. And thanks to Jennifer for going first to go over many of the same details that I was going to mention. So I won't reiterate the deadlines. We are using the same deadlines that others are using, with October 19th to be the time to get your materials to us for review. We also provide office space and a computer and a host of professional development opportunities and writing support each semester for both of our centers. I will start first with the Minnesota Population Center. We have been funded by the National Institutes of Health for over 20 years, and we do population health and demographic research. Our center is directed by Rob Warren, who's in sociology, and we have over 100 faculty and research staff who you can please browse our website and look to for mentors if you have research interests that match. Our research themes, we have 5 main themes, which you can also read about on our website. They are population health and health systems, spatial and environmental demography, reproductive health, work, family, and time, and structural racism and health inequities. So please feel free to learn more about the Minnesota Population Center on our website and see if you may have a match, and happy to talk to you more about MPC. The second hat I'm wearing is with the Life Course Center. We are directed currently by Phyllis Moen, who is a faculty member in sociology. Our center was founded in 1986, so been around a long time. Recently got funded by the National Institute on Aging to become an official research center. So research in the Life Course Center encompasses all aspects of research, from all aspects of life, from birth to death. We do a lot of qualitative research and quantitative research, and using existing data and new data. And again, we have around 100 faculty and staff research mentors, and you can look at the Life Course Center website to see if you have any overlapping research interests with us, to see if you are a good match. We'd love to have you. Please feel free to reach out to me in the breakout session to ask more about MPC or LCC. Thank you.
On to Karen Brown.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thanks everybody. I am also going to share my screen. I have a couple of slides to share with you. I'm Karen Brown, and I'm the director of ICGC, or the Interdisciplinary Center for the Study of Global Change. So I'll tell you a little bit about ICGC, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have later. So ICGC is a campus-wide center that's part of the Global Programs and Strategy Alliance, or the International Programs Unit of the University of Minnesota. And our mission focuses on global social justice. So we have a community of faculty and students who have a shared interest in global change with a focus on the global south, and an interest again in research and education related to global social justice. And we focus very much on interdisciplinarity, on global engagement, and on questions of diversity in the academy. So our interdisciplinary community consists of a core group of about 70 ICGC scholars or graduate faculty, or I'm sorry, graduate fellows, and about 80 affiliated graduate faculty. And this group of scholars comes from 6 colleges and schools and more than 30 disciplines and programs across the university. We operate on an interdisciplinary cohort model in our graduate fellowship program, and we formally partner with 6 colleges and schools across the university. We also have a set of interdisciplinary research circles that we invite our fellows to participate in. And as an IDF, you'd be a member of this interdisciplinary community of students and faculty. One thing that's notable about the ICGC community is we're a sustained community. People are affiliated long-term with us. And so there's a real sense of community and connection across students and faculty. There's a number of activities that you have access to as an IDF at ICGC. The key one is our Friday Brown Bag Talk series, where members of our community present on their works in progress, and we invite our IDFs to present their work in that series. As I mentioned, we also have research circles, we have webinar series, and a number of partnerships that you can tap into as an IDF. We have a partnership with a set of historically Black colleges and universities that we are currently developing related to graduate education. We have a long-term partnership in South Africa funded by the Mellon Foundation, and we have several academic programs, including a development studies in social change graduate minor and a master's in international development studies. So again, as an IDF, you'd be one of our core visiting scholars group, and you'd have access to these activities if they're of interest to you. We typically have several visiting scholars each year, including some from our partner school in Cape Town, and usually a Fulbright or 2 and some other international visitors. As an IDF, we provide you with a workspace, with a computer. We provide you with some professional development funding. And again, we provide you with the opportunity to connect to the community I've just described. So if this is of interest to you, I invite you to contact me, Karen Brown. You see my email here, kbt@umn.edu, with any questions or for help with identifying a faculty mentor from among our 80 affiliates. Our internal deadline, like others, is October 19th, and that's our opportunity to look at the details of your application. If you want to know more about what we do, go to our website, icgc.umn.edu. So I look forward to speaking with you in the breakout. I'll unshare my screen now, and I'm going to pass the microphone over to Juliet.
Great. Hey, thanks, Karen. I want to apply for an IDF with you. So I am Juliette Cherbelier. I am director of the Consortium for the Study of the Pre-Modern World. I am not adept at screen sharing. Is that clear? Can people see a screen? Fantastic. The Consortium for the Study of the Pre-Modern World is an umbrella organization that covers the Centers for Medieval Studies and Early Modern History and adds a lot of programming to them. If you're interested in getting a historical or historiographical understanding of your topic, we would be a really good match for you. If you're interested in interrogating what it means to be modern, from a theoretical or from a material or from a historical perspective, no matter what time period, place, or approach you're using, we might also be a really good match for you. IDF fellows are usually affiliated with either primary center. We also use the October 19th deadline. Our deadline is a sort of soft deadline in the sense that we want to work with you before then and after then to make sure that we're a good match for you. we also invite IDF fellows to be a part of our community. We also have writing hunkers. We offer you office space, research funds, invitation to give a public lecture in your research in any of our series. And we have a really vibrant online community right now. So if this sounds like something that you might be interested in, we're happy to talk to you more about that, and also happy to help answer questions from applicants in the humanities about the IDF more generally. Thanks. Now I have to stop sharing screen, which is a whole other feat. Okay, there. Okay.
Kathy Jordan.
Hi, everyone. I am Kathy Jordan. I am the Associate Director for Leadership and Education at the Institute on the Environment. And I am going to share my screen quickly here. And what is the Institute on the Environment? So we are a system-wide interdisciplinary institute, meaning all 5 campuses are somehow involved. And our mission is to lead the way toward a future in which people and the planet prosper together. And just because we talk about the environment and the planet doesn't mean that we're all ecologists. And in fact, we have representation from arts and humanities and social science and hard sciences, engineering, et cetera. It's a very, very diverse institute that seems to attract the people who want to think and work in an interdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary sort of way. We have 3 main pillars of what we do. We have a research side of us that is about producing novel insights, but not in a sort of typical academic trajectory sort of way. We tend to attract scientists either on staff or in our affiliate community who want to work in community engaged way and multidisciplinary ways on things related to climate or environment, really broadly construed, that are at the margins of multiple disciplines and communities and policy and that sort of thing. The second piece is about building human capital, and that's the area that I direct, about leadership education and sustainability education. And then our third pillar is about telling compelling stories. We have a whole wing that does essentially high production value journalism and storytelling about environmental issues. We are a community that is people in the building who run our institute and run our various programs in research and sustainability education and storytelling. We're also students from across the university system and beyond. And then we also have a large, several hundred member affiliate community of junior and senior faculty, scholars, as well as folks who are with us kind of wearing their instructional faculty hat. And we also have visiting scholars and others that join us. So you would become, as an IDF fellow, a member of that broader community. One of the things that we are really working on beefing up, we're already working on diversity, DEI, issues, but we have been delving into systemic change in our own organization, becoming an anti-racist organization, and are very much committed to taking on the white supremacy culture of the environmental movement, which does not have a great history. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute here and tell you a little bit about what it would be like to be an IDF fellow. Did I successfully unshare my screen? Yes, okay, good. So IDF fellows, I would say 3 big opportunities. One is access to and sort of a curated experience with this broad community, helping you make connections with junior and senior faculty, other students, postdocs, graduate students who work with us, et cetera, for purposes of broadening your network, but also your own career development and perhaps actual input into your dissertation. A second piece is in the area that I direct around leadership and education. We have leadership education, leadership development opportunities for graduate students that you would be able to be part of. And these are everything from career development to science communication to imposter syndrome and a variety of other offerings that graduates that are of concern to graduate students, I would say. And then the third piece I would say is access to the really interesting novel research that is going on at IONE and in our affiliate community, and either just absorbing that and learning about it, or perhaps getting involved in some way. You would have access to professional development funds, and you would have the opportunity to present your own research in one of our either staff meetings or one of our group meetings within our research group, our journalism group, or the leadership and education group. Application-wise, we're using the October 19th deadline like everyone else. Application, same thing as you would put into the grad school. And I would be happy to share my email address, etc., with anyone who wants to join me in the Zoom breakout. And I think that's it. Back to you, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you so much, Kathy and Juliet and Karen and Lindsay also. And I think Abby has been working to sort you into breakout rooms, but I'm going to hand over the mic to her to explain how this will work.